Hi there, my name's Jack Cohen. I would like to introduce a device that I'm very fond of. It's an ionizing device by Enagic. The company has been 45 years out of Japan. It's an ISO certified 13485 certification medical device. Only one on the planet that does have that medical device designation. My background is I'm a certified holistic cancer practitioner, and I have the opportunity and good fortune to be able to suggest this device to people and assist them in their road to recovery. One of the wonderful things that have been studied about this water is it has, there's over 700 studies done on this water. Electrolytically reduced water. This is something that you can look up those studies, but in identifying the different properties of the Hunza Valley water, it was essentially mimicked in this device and has been being perfected over the last 50 years. Enagic, having 45 years of history, I found to be the best device. Now, the three main properties, or the three things that affect people in over 170 degenerative diseases are oxidative stress, and we all experience oxidative stress through our lifestyle, through the chemicals that rain down on us or we use in our household environment or our cars or Febrezes and you know, different things. If it has a smell, you're getting those particles in your nose, and those are a part of 85,000 industrial chemicals, a lot of which are not regulated or explored for their, you know, damaging effects. One of the properties of oxidative stress is this has the ability to separate through electrolysis the water and bring it to a living type water. I'll explain that by demonstrating right here the ORP, the oxidation reduction potential, and that's the potential to reduce oxidative stress, oxidation. And on the chart here, it shows the different levels. Basically it's a multimeter. We are all electrical beings. We operate on electricity, just like everything around us does. If we had no electrical charge, first, if we had a reduced electrical charge, we would start to feel really run down. If we charge up, we feel excellent, we feel clear, we think better, everything communicates faster. So on the chart here, there's a zero line for the voltage. Now in the positive means rusting, oxidizing. An automobile will rust because it's in the positive. It's an apple. You can cut an apple in half and put it out and it oxidizes. Also, you know, your skin oxidizes. We oxidize on an ongoing basis. So we have to supply our body with antioxidants. Now, antioxidants are typically in the negative end. Now how I can explain that is you have an atom, for example. Imagine this to be an atom. We have about 120 quadrillion atoms per red blood cell, and we have anywhere from 10 to 50 trillion red blood cells. So we have a lot of these. Now, as an oxidant, or just as a normal functioning atom, you have 8 negative electrons surrounding this atom. These 8 negative electrons allow the atom to be stable. Now, if you were to remove 2 or 3 of those electrons, what happens is this becomes unstable and starts to look for homeostasis. It looks to balance by stealing negative electrons from other parts of your body, which then is called a free radical that does damage, free radical damage. So an antioxidant is the other side of that. It is an atom that has an abundance of negative electrons, that it can donate some of these negative electrons to stabilize free radicals and still be stable. So when we move into the negative ORP, this is a logarithmic scale, not an exponential scale. So it climbs by ridiculous amounts. For example, if we move into green tea, for example, green tea is minus 100. That means it provides us a lot of antioxidant benefits. Now, if you were to take a cup of water out of here, and if it came out at minus 100, or you poured it and let it sit for a day or two, then it would oxidize. It would lose those negative electrons. And then you measured it, and when it became minus 100, it would still be equivalent to 1 cup of green tea. Now, if you took that out of the machine and let it sit for a while and measured it till it became minus 200, it would be equivalent to 6.9 cups of green tea. Now, it gets really crazy here. At 200, it's 48 cups of green tea. At 300, it's 328 cups of green tea. At minus 400, it's 49, 328. At minus 500, it's about 1,500 cups of green tea. And I might be off on the math a little bit, but at minus 600, it's over 15,600 cups of green tea. Did I get the math right on that? It's pretty close. Anyway, it's ridiculously high. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm hoping to see over minus 700, which is 107,000 cups of green tea. Try drinking that. Okay, and the equivalent of that in blueberries would be a dump truck load full. So not many people can consume that. So what we want to do is consume foods or beverages, first of all, in the negative ORP. If they go into this area, a positive ORP, they damage our cells again by stealing the negative electrons. So we're going to do a little demonstration here, and we're going to start with pouring some of these waters. This is a tap water. We're going to pour Dasani. Dasani and Aquafina are both Coke and Pepsi byproducts, and they're not very healthy. This is smart water. We're going to identify how smart this is. And Aquafina. Now, I could be wrong, but I think Aquafina is a Pepsi. This is Aqua Hydrate. This is supposed to be I think a 9 pH, 8.5 or 9 pH. Oh, there it is right there. pH 9 plus. Now, we'll talk about the pH shortly, but this represents Perrier, San Pellegrino, sparkling water. And Sprite. This represents all soft drinks. Pretty toxic. Now, again, this meter measures in millivolts. It's very, very sensitive. I don't know if we can see that, but I'll read it out as well. We'll start with tap water. Tap water, not terrible. 155, 156. We're going to go to Dasani water. Dasani, it's climbing, 240, 270. We'll let it sit there for a minute and give it a chance to stabilize. It's going up. It's going to keep going, keep going. 317, 318, 320. Pretty bad. Smart water. Let's see what that's looking like. 328. 328. Terribly oxidizing. That means every mouthful of this steals negative electrons from your body and ages you. Now, Aquafina, 350. It's still climbing. 354, 57, 58, 60. Wow. 375, 77, 380, we might even hit 400 with this. It's pretty toxic. 385, I'm gonna stop. This is, what's this one again? It's called Aqua Hydrate. 230, 220, down a bit, 218, still quite damaging. Over 400. San Pellegrino and Perrier, similar. Now a lot of these 420, wow, we're just right up there. Sodas, Pops, Coke, Sprite, 460. It's crazy. Look at that number. I don't know if we can see that, but that is positive 430. It's crazy. Now I'm going to put the Kangen water in the... I'm going to run some Kangen water in there. Give it a chance to... And let's see what we get here. Meter must be minus 750. Minus 750. Now, if you were to consume this right now, straight out of the cup, we're looking at about probably 500,000 cups of green tea in antioxidants. That's the negative electrons that are available, free negative electrons that are available to stabilize our free radical damage. So you start to sweep the body and clear out the free radical damage. Let's look at that again. That's beautiful. Minus 750. Doesn't get better than that. Again, we covered the three main causes of what we know to be about 170 degenerative diseases. The first being the oxidative damage, free radical damage. The second is acidic stress. We build an acidity level or a pH level, the potential of hydrogen, pH. Now it gets a little complicated, but I'll try and simplify it as much as possible. The acidic stress comes from beverages that we consume, different foods, the production of breaking down food creates an acid condition in our body. We have chemicals in the air, we have industrial cleaners and solvents and chemicals that we breathe in. Mental stress creates an acidic condition. Physical stress, lack of sleep. Most of our foods that are not coming straight from the earth to our mouth create an acidic condition. So that acidic condition throws off our oxygen levels. Okay, and that's the main. I'm not sure if we can see this quite. Can we see that? Okay. Now, neutral is the range is 0 to 14 on the pH scale. 7 is considered neutral. Our blood needs to stay within a range of 7.35 to 7.45. Now let me tell you the oxygen difference between 7.35 and 7.45. Our blood will always remain in that state. So 7.35, if you can raise your blood to a 7.45, you've increased your oxygen in your body and all your bodily fluids by 100%. Now, again, the range probably won't see it that well, but we're gonna show. We'll put it on the video. The different colors that represent the pH, and we do that through these phenol red drops that identify the pH, the potential of hydrogen in a fluid. So when you move from, let's say, neutral, 7.0 to 8.0, that's 10 times the increase in oxygen, 1,000% increase in oxygen. Now, if you can raise your pH in your overall body by 1 point, you're raising it by 1,000%. What can we do with that extra oxygen? Now, moving from 7 to 9 is 100 times the oxygen level. It's enormous. So, and going the other way is the same thing. So we live in a primarily acidic state. Most people are chronically acidic. And so we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables that come straight from the ground to our mouth to be able to offset that. We do have a mechanism in our body that's really, really amazing, but it can only work as efficiently as the supply of food and beverage that we give it. So what happens is we have a very intelligent system that keeps our blood in the 7.35 to 7.45 range, and it does that by stealing by stealing from things like our bones, the calcium. Oftentimes you've seen very unhealthy women that conceive. The baby, the fetus, is going to be at an 8.4 pH. And that being said, 8.4 pH, if the body is chronically acidic, it will start to take from the bones, from the hair, from the teeth, and neutralize to keep that at the 8.4 pH. It doesn't matter what the host is getting. So what we want to do is do things and eat foods and consume beverages that allow us to raise our body pH, because it also raises the amount of oxygen that we are using and holding. Again, we spoke about the hydrogen, the amount of hydrogen in the fluids, and this hydrogen is very, very important for producing not only the ability to fight directly free radical damage and some of the worst ones, hydroxyl radicals, and not affecting any other tissue. Hydrogen is the first on the periodic table and the smallest molecule that we know of. So that's why when you pour your Kangen water, the sooner you can drink it, the better, the more hydrogen that you have, the molecular hydrogen. So we're going to be testing now the pH of the water. And remember, if we have a high pH, we have the presence of a lot of oxygen. A low pH is the absence of the hydrogen. Now, Dr. Otto Warburg, in the 30s, late 20s and early 30s, got 2 Nobel Prizes for the discovery of cancer, for example. It thrives in an anaerobic environment. That means the lack of oxygen. So we're going to be testing this water and placing the chart with these drops. Now, as you can see with the chart, our waters are this level of acidity. When we talked about the amount of free oxygen available to us with this, it's really clear to see. For example, if we're talking about something that's as low as, this on the chart would probably come in at, what's that say? Maybe 4 pH. So if we're talking 4, it's 100 times, or from a 7, a neutral, we're talking about over 1,000 times more acidic, and with the ability to steal our oxygen from our body. So let's just have a look at this. This appears to be, in the higher level, probably, maybe 8, not the 9.5 they're advertising, or 9+. But I want to show you how I can oxidize this. And the way this is created, this is alkaline water, and you may find online that alkaline water is bad for you, and it's correct because it's done through chemical. You can actually take baking soda and mix it with water and make alkaline water. But the ongoing consumption of that has negative effects on the body. It'll create things build up in the joints. It'll create stones, kidney. Let's do this. Let's oxidize this water. Look at that. That's what the actual pH of that water is. And what I did was I just oxidized it. I blew into it and oxidized it. Now I'm going to do the same because this will do the same. But I'll have to be here a long time to do it, right? So it's created without chemical. It's created through electrolysis, which means it'll hold that pH a lot longer. But let me show you something very interesting. If we take some, I'm going to take some Kangen water. And let's say we do see that this is tap water. It's coming in little closer to neutral. And why that is because it's regulated by the municipality to be a neutral pH. And that is to protect the infrastructure of pipes, so that they don't have to put a lot of work in it. It won't dissolve the pipes. If they put it through without treating it, and it's treated with things like lye, which is carcinogenic, it has all kinds of contaminants, pharmaceuticals, and other things in the water. And basically, what the history behind Perrier, they really made the bottled water industry because they started selling out of France and shipping bottles all over the world. And they really created the bottled water industry as being a healthier water. So Nestle had a look and said, geez, we can monopolize on their mistakes. Their mistakes are they have to bottle the water and ship it. Can you imagine the shipping costs from France all over the world? So they set up a manufacturing facility in every major city and bottled tap water because the perception of the public is that bottled water is healthier. And so they gained a big part of the market share in doing that. But let me show you, if you're consuming this kind of acidic water, a little bit of Kangen water, look at that. It just changes the pH and also changes the amount of oxygen that's provided because this is electrolytically reduced water. It has free molecular hydrogen, and the amount of oxygen that's carried in that is just enormous. We're going to do that. Oh, we're just not going to have much luck doing that, are we? Not at all. I'm going to need more of that. So what we're seeing is it's very acidic and very difficult to neutralize. And again, neutralizing the acidity in our body is very important. Now, we're going to do the same thing here. We haven't got a hope in neutralizing that. That's very challenging. But I do want to demonstrate the toxicity level that we have in here. 1 can of Sprite or Coke could actually kill us if we didn't have the intelligent mechanism within our body to neutralize right away. Steal it from our bones, from the shroud that covers our DNA is calcium. We take that immediately to neutralize the acidity, the amount of acidity in just 1 can of pop. So it would have the ability to kill us if our mechanism wasn't intelligent enough. But look at what 1 capful does. Just changes it to 1,000 times more acidic. Like, it's just that powerful of a acid forming fluid. This is dangerous stuff. Even the Kangen water, look, it hasn't got a hope against this stuff. One capful, look, it changes it completely. There it goes. One capful to a bright yellow, 4.5 pH. So it's similar to the stuff that runs in our cars in the batteries. So as you see, the only water to drink would be the Kangen water. Thank you. Now the third of the three things that create most chronic disease, 170 degenerative diseases. Again, the first one is oxidative stress, free radical damage. The second is an overacidity in the body, a chronic acidity, acid condition, which starves the body of oxygen. And the third is chronic dehydration. The majority of the population is chronically dehydrated. Now, some of the beverages that we consume, first of all, we don't consume enough liquids. For most people, you evaporate, depending on what climate you live in, but we evaporate, we exhale. If you took a mirror, you would see condensation there. That means every breath, you're exhaling moisture. Okay, we perspire on a regular basis, even though that you're not the type of person, I don't perspire, but it's a mechanism that our body uses to control our temperature. So we're always evaporating water off to maintain a constant body temperature. And another way is we urinate and we defecate a lot of the water from our body on a daily basis. Now, the average person will lose 2 to 4 liters a day. Now think about that. If you're consuming 2 to 4 liters a day to replenish that, if you're not, typically you're taking on a lot in a shower, between 4 to 8 cups in a shower, unless it's properly filtered. You're also taking in the chlorine and the fluoride and all the nasty things that are in typical municipal tap water. So hydration. Now we're going to talk about how this addresses the third of the chronic degenerative disease causing problems. This device, when it goes through the process of electrolysis, it structures the water in a hexagonal rather than a pentagonal shape, more easily accepted by our cells. And the other thing is the size of the clustering of molecules. For example, a regular water that tap, bottled, so on, both the same by the way, in most cases, regular water cluster, it's in 15 to 30 molecule clusters. So, if you visualize that as a softball and you throw it at a chain link fence, it doesn't go through. Now, if you take and rip it apart through the electrolysis process, it starts to microcluster at 5, 8 microns, molecules per cluster. And that's like taking BBs and throwing them at a chain link fence. They go through. So the hydration factor is 4-6 times what regular water would be. Now that makes regular water at hydration of about 15 to 18%. The rest we just urinate out. Or we also have to digest it. We have to digest those clusters. And you'll notice that if you take a bottle of water and chug it back, a store-bought bottle of water, chug it back, you'll feel heavy. You'll feel as though that stays in there for quite some time before the body is able to break it down, and that's what it has to do. Where this water does not do that, especially taken on an empty stomach. You drink this water, it gets absorbed in the mouth, in the esophagus, in the stomach lining, and we have what's called a pyloric sphincter valve at the end of our stomach. And the water is just so perfect for our body that our body recognizes that. You can't make the swishing sound because you've almost absorbed all of it in just a couple of minutes. But the pyloric sphincter valve opens up and hydrates the duodenum and the small intestine immediately. So one of the first things that people notice when they're on the water is fantastic bowel movements. And that is so critical to maintaining good health, is detoxifying. It's moving the toxins out of your body. So I'm going to demonstrate the microclustering effect of the water, and we're going to take an example here of some tomatoes that you bring home from the grocery store. And I'm going to do a couple of different demonstrations with these. And typically you'll bring them home and you'll wash them in your tap water, correct? Absolutely. So what we're going to do is show the difference of bringing them home and washing them in Kangen water. Okay. So I'll first, if we can get some 11.5 out of this machine, 11.5 pH is...
Strong acidic water.
Nope. Oh yes, perfect. Oh, here we go. And I'm also going to fill this with tap water, because you'd come home and you'd fill your wash basin or whatever with the there we go. And we're going to let that just sit for a moment. And what it's doing is, because herbicides, pesticides, insecticides, suicide, it's all the coatings that are placed on your fruits and vegetables. I've seen even organic have a disgusting coating come off them. But because they have to be oil-based, otherwise the rain would wash them off and it'd be very expensive to reapply them, they can't just be washed off simply by water, because as you know, if you mix tap water and oil, it doesn't mix. It's hard to wash oil off with just tap water. So we're going to leave that for just a second, and I'm going to show you exactly what comes off. Ideally, we would soak them for 15-20 minutes, but we're going to do it just after maybe 1 minute, and show you exactly what comes off these fruits. And I'll also show you a demonstration. Our earlier video showed an ORP meter, the oxidation reduction potential, and it shows the charge. Can that be seen up there? No. It shows the charge of what makes something an antioxidant or an oxidative free radical. So when it's fresh off the vine, typically a fruit like this would be an antioxidant. It'd be powerful. Because it has the negative electrons that are drawn up from the earth. We barely ever have our shoes off and walk on the earth. And the reason you go on vacation, you come back, you feel so amazing, is because you've had the chance to just soak up those negative electrons in your body, and it offsets a lot of free radical damage. Makes you feel really good. But when you pull this straight off the vine, and if you measured it, it would be a negative charge, meaning it has a lot of negative electrons to donate to our body to fight those free radicals. But as it gets picked, thrown in the bushels, taken to the warehouse, taken to sorters, placed in packages, thrown in the truck, shipped to the grocery store, stacked up there for a few days, then you select them, you bring them home, maybe they sit on your counter or in your fridge for a couple of days, you open them up, you use them, they've already oxidized, and I'll show you a demonstration of that. So first, we'll take the ones that you washed in tap water. Not really much comes off of those. And as you see, this is what you're consuming. Now, you wouldn't dare drink this, would you? But you go home, but you're eating it on here. So this allows you to strip the pesticides off and the herbicides and insecticides. I'm going to show you something really, really cool. We're going to pick one of these, and we're going to cut this open. And we're going to take the meter and we're going to plunge it into there. And we're going to see what kind of value it gives us. These are relatively fresh. They're at about 140 right now. That's not bad. 133 positive. Positive 128, 125. It'll stabilize at about 120 probably. Now, I'm going to show you what having one that's been soaked in 11.5, but it's only been a minute. And ideally you want to soak it for a lot longer. But here we go. We're climbing already. We're in the minus. Okay, so what you've done is you've turned these tomatoes back into something that was picked right off the vine with a good negative charge. Look at that. It's climbing up. We're like at minus 200 already, and if I leave it there, it's going to go much higher. So one, you brought your tomatoes home, and they're no longer an antioxidant. They're not really beneficial other than the nutrient value. You left the pesticides and herbicides on them, or you take this, you wash them with this, you've stripped off all the herbicides, pesticides, and insecticides, which are toxic, and you've charged it up to a minus 300. That is a super antioxidant. That's just fantastic. Cheers. Now we discussed, again, the second of the three main causes of all degenerative diseases, acidosis, a chronic acidic condition in the body. And where the sources of this acid, where do they come from? Well, this is one of the worst sources, not particularly Sprite, but sodas in general. This just represents pretty much all of them. And as I mentioned before, one of these has the ability to kill us if we didn't have the intelligent mechanism, buffering mechanism in our body to deal with buffering it into a neutral state immediately. And it does that by stealing from our shroud of calcium around our DNA. It steals it from our teeth, our bones, anywhere it can to neutralize and not to have a devastating effect on our body. Our blood never moves from 7.35 to 7.45. So I'm going to demonstrate here how acidic this is. And again, just a quick review. From a neutral, the scale is 0 to 14. We'll hopefully have it at the bottom of the video here. 0 to 14. And neutral is 7. Our blood is 7.365 ideal, but it ranges from 7.35 to 7.45. Again, as I mentioned in a previous video, that if you can move, a fluid, our blood, 7.35 to 7.45, just 1/10 of a point, you're changing the oxygen content in that fluid by 100%, doubling the amount of oxygen that's being carried in your blood. Now, what can we do with double the oxygen? So, and again, when you move from 7 to 6, you're talking about 10 times the amount of reduced amount of oxygen. It's releasing it into the air. And from 7 to 8, again, 10 times the increase in oxygen. So what we're going to do is demonstrate a Sprite and the pH level of that. Let's see if we can. Let's see if it'll hold it. It will hold it. So we're going to take these pH drops, phenol red, and these are the same drops that you would use in your swimming pool, for example. But the majority of people with swimming pools tend to care more about the balanced pH in their swimming pool than in their body. So we want you to be more aware of your body pH. So now look at the color of that. That's a deep orange. So that's probably in the neighborhood of 3.5 to 4 pH. And just to bring that up to neutral, we'd have to come up 10,000%, 1,000 times less acidic to bring it up to just neutral. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour this into this vase. And we might as well get that little drop that's left in there so you know it's a full pop. And we're going to use Kangen water, and we're going to, as you see, I'm not going to do it glass for glass. We're going to be a long time trying to neutralize this this acidity glass for glass. So we're going to take it. This is equivalent to, I'm going to bring it up to about seven of these at a time, and we're going to see how that looks here. Let's see. Okay, first what we're going to do, and this is fresh out of the machine, so we're going to, let's get something to stir it maybe. Thank you. Just going to see, obviously what we're trying to do, we're going to dilute pretty quickly. I'll put a couple more drops just so we can see color and know what effect the cups, these cups will have on the acidic pop. Okay, here we go. Well, I'm going to say we're still pretty acidic, probably in the at least 5 pH. We're going to fill again. And just to make sure, a few more drops. And it keeps us identifying the pH. And by the color, you can see it's very, very acidic still. So that's about 7 cups, or 7 of these cans. We're going to do another 7 and see where that comes in. Now hopefully I can do this without spilling it. Okay, let's have a look where that is. Nice deep 9.5 pH. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to do this quickly. It's trying. Yep, maybe we did it. Nope. Looks like we're at gosh, probably 5.5 pH. We're bringing it up, but it's still pretty yellow. It takes a lot of Kangen water. No regular water will neutralize this at all. You can drink 100 gallons. You'll never neutralize this. It's your body's going to steal from your bones, your teeth, your hair, tissue to neutralize. So let's see what we get out of it. So right now, if we pour this whole thing, we'd be at 28 cups. We're going to pour slow. It's trying. I'm going to go for it. Look at that, 28 cups. Now we're going to go for, let's see, we're going to see if we can neutralize this. Bring it to a neutral, which would be a nice bright green, even just neutral. But ideally, I don't know if that's going to, we'll see. Add a few more drops, keep it. Yeah, that's looking like about a 6.0 right now. And we have 28 28 cans. What's that? Oh, this will be 28. I'm sorry. I have to get my calculator out now. This will be 28. Right now we're at, what was it, 21? No, what are we at? 21. Okay. Let's see. What do you think? Should we go for it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Look at that. Look at that. It's not even at 7.0. This is probably 6.0 based on the chart. Right there. Probably 6.0 right now. And we put 28, equivalent 28 of Kangen water from this device, strongest on the planet. Can you see that clearly? The color of that? We can't add any more, but I would say it would take at least another one of these to bring it to neutral, just to neutralize it. So if you're prepared to drink this poison, make sure you have one of these and you offset it with at least 5 of these. Thank you. Just did a rough calculation of how many glasses